Hey everybody, it's low carb and keto nutrition specialist Amy Berger from www.2itnutrition.com, bringing you, as always, keto without the crazy. Now, I did have to say www.2itnutrition.com. I am recording here on October 25th, 2020, and we've just had a little hiccup with my website that if you just put 2itnutrition.com, you're going to get an error and it won't come up. So just put www.2itnutrition.com. But if you click on any link that's in the notes below, you'll get to where you need to go. All right, keto without the crazy. Let's talk about that a little, shall we? I would like to share with you some very big news that if you are a regular watcher of my channel, and if you are, thank you, then you've already heard this, but if you're new, I have a new book on the way. On the way. The tentative release date is December 15th, 2020. It is available for pre-order now. There is a link below. Click, click, click. The book is called End Your Carb Confusion, and it is co-written with none other than Dr. Eric Westman, who I'm sure many of you are well familiar with that name, but if you're kind of new to the keto and low carb scene, you might be so new that your focus is on sort of the newer people that have been up and coming on the scene in the last few years, whereas Dr. Westman has been at this since 1998. He and some colleagues did some of the earliest research of the modern era anyway, of the modern times, on low carb and ketogenic diets, specifically for obesity, for type 2 diabetes, hypertension, PCOS, metabolic syndrome. He and his colleagues really resurrected this research after this long-standing taboo that you couldn't even research it. You know, he's not the first person who ever did research, but he was the first person to kind of, like I said, resurrect it after it had been taboo for so many years when everybody was so afraid of fat and so afraid of red meat and cholesterol and, okay. Anyway, the point is, if you're gonna write a book about low carb or ketogenic diets, there's not many people better's not the right, there's not many people who would come to mind as a desirable co-author than Eric Westman. So Dr. Westman and I wrote a book together. It's called End Your Carb Confusion, and I want to tell you a little bit about it, and I'll probably do several more videos, but just kind of give you an intro to the basic concepts. So where do I start? I am going to bring up the book description on my computer here. So if I look a little weird and I'm not looking directly at the camera, it's because I'm going to read you the description that's on Amazon. And I wrote this description, so I should be familiar with it, but I haven't read it in a while. Okay. Move from carb confusion to carb confidence. Overwhelmed by the avalanche of information out there about diets and health? Tired of spending time and money following complicated and expensive plans and protocols that don't deliver the results you want? Would a strict ketogenic diet be best for you? But what if you can't imagine life without fruit or bread? Why won't someone make all this diet stuff simple? They have! Eric Westman, MD, has over 20 years of experience as an internal medicine doctor and obesity medicine specialist. He's helped patients at his keto medicine clinic at Duke University lose over 26,000 pounds and reverse conditions like type 2 diabetes, PCOS, high blood pressure, and more. In End Your Carb Confusion, he shares his time-tested and science-backed strategy with you. If you've spent years doing all the right things, but you're still dealing with excess weight, diabetes, heartburn, joint pain, fatigue, skin problems, or other issues, End Your Carb Confusion is the GPS you need to help you navigate your way from frustrated and disappointed to empowered and successful. Find the level of carbohydrate intake that's right for you now, and then learn how to switch gears to a higher or lower carb diet when the time is right. Dr. Westman gives you the information you need to start reclaiming your health today. No complicated and confusing scientific gobbledygook, only exactly what you need to understand how you got to where you are. Hint, it's not your fault. And more important, how to get to where you want to be. You shouldn't need a PhD, a private chef, and $1 million to lose weight and get healthy. The simple, straightforward plan laid out in End Your Carb Confusion fits into any lifestyle, whether you shop at an organic co-op or a discount chain, and will help you reach your goals whether you prefer gourmet meals or fast food. No matter where you're starting from, End Your Carb Confusion can lead you to your destination, a renewed body, mind, and spirit. Okay, I'm done reading the description now. And that kind of gives it all away, but let me break it down a little more, because Amy Berger is physically incapable of making a video that's only 5 minutes long, and her hair is a little, hello. Okay, hair. Okay. All right then. This is, we need to sell lots of copies of this book so that I can hire a professional hair and makeup artist for my videos. Let's put it that way. No, just kidding. So yeah, end your carb confusion. Dr. Westman and I were kind of the perfect people to write this book together because we both adamantly stand by that sort of perspective of keto. Keeping it uncomplicated, keeping it simple, keeping it affordable and realistic. I did a video not long ago on how other people out there are like trying to raise the bar and make keto more expensive, more elitist, more difficult, more confusing. That is a terrible strategy if you actually really want to help as many people as you can. If you want as many people as possible to try this and benefit from it, if they are living with a condition that is probably going to benefit from it, then what we would want to do is make this as accessible and open and welcoming and doable to those people. And the fact is, Dr. Westman has been doing this in his clinic for over 20 years, and his patients, and he's just one example. I mean, I could name, off the top of my head, at least 20 other doctors that I know, either, in real life or on social media, who are the same way. They're dealing with regular patients in the trenches, so to speak. They're still in practice. And not all these people have a college education. Some of them are, they quit school in middle school. Some people really are very, very economically challenged. They're not going to go to Whole Foods. They're not going to go to the farm and pay $18 a pound for a ribeye steak. They're going to go to the discount store and get that tube of ground beef that's $2.99 a pound. They're going to get, they're not going to buy the $8 a bottle salad dressing. They're going to go and get the Kraft Ranch or the Ken's Ranch for $1.99. And guess what? Here's the beautiful thing about that. They will still do perfectly phenomenally well on a low carb or ketogenic diet, because we can argue until we're blue in the face about the food quality and the purity. And I've done some videos on that. I'll maybe link to them in the notes here. But, if you have the means to do that and you have the time and ability to go access that kind of food, by all means do it. I work at a local farm here in North Carolina. I am all for supporting that type of agriculture if you can afford it. If you cannot afford it, should you be relegated to a life of type 2 diabetes? Should you be relegated to a life of infertility if you're a woman and you have PCOS but you'd really love to conceive a child? Should you be left behind because we're going to tell you it's no good to go to El Cheapo store and buy El Cheapo meat and vegetables? Not in my keto world. Not in my keto world. So Dr. Westman and I are very much on the same page about, like the Amazon description said, it fits into any lifestyle. Whether you buy exclusively food from your local farm, whether you cook every single thing from scratch in your own kitchen, whether you want to use Crystal Light, raspberry iced tea, or you want to use sugar-free Jello, or you want to put a pack of Sweet and Low in your coffee, or whether you would never touch an artificial sweetener or a sugar alcohol with a 50-foot pole. You don't even want to look at that. Whatever your preference is, you can succeed on this way of eating. It is entirely customizable, with the one rule that you have to keep your carbs really low. However you decide to do. Now, there is a food list. There's a food list. It's actually based off of Dr. Westman's famous page 4. Some of you may be familiar with that. You can actually click to buy page 4. There's a link below. So I'm getting ahead of myself though. So let me take a step back. This whole quality thing, we're trying to make it open to everybody. And again, whether you like to cook everything from scratch, you're cooking yourself every meal, or you're going to go through the drive-through once a day or twice a day or maybe once a week, you can still do really well. If you hate cooking and you don't even have a kitchen and you don't even own a single pot and you dine out for every single meal, you can also be perfectly successful with this. If you know what to order, you can basically eat anywhere. any type of ethnic cuisine, whether it's fast food, whether it's a 4-star restaurant, whether it's a farm stand selling you their fancy schmancy pastured pork, eating acorns, you can do really well with this. So I guess the other couple of main points, the next one I'll move on to, is that this book, we're bracing ourselves to take a great deal of criticism because there is not one single scientific reference in this book, not one. There's no bibliography section. There's no like, we made this claim and it's backed up by so-and-so study. No citations whatsoever in the book. There's a couple of reasons for that. That was Dr. Westman's idea. This is actually not the book he wanted to write originally. He wanted to write a book that he wanted to call it Pocket Keto. He wanted to make like a 30-page, like a pamphlet, like a little square of a book that you could get, this was prior to COVID, that you could pick up at an airport bookstore, read in an hour on the plane, and by the time you land, you could start the ketogenic diet. The publisher did not really like that idea, so it's morphed into what we're doing now, but he always had it in his mind to write something that is so simple and so basic that it doesn't need a ton of references. And the fact is, we are going to take criticism. Now, you will take criticism if you're creating content of any kind. Somebody's going to hate it. You'll have many, many people that like and love it, and there'll be a couple of people that no matter what you do or how you do it, someone is going to be unhappy with it. So we're bracing for that. But the fact is, nothing we say in the book is controversial. So I felt like we actually don't need scientific references because there is not one thing in that book that we say that is up for debate or controversial, because we don't even badmouth carbohydrate. And I'll get to that point in a second. We don't really demonize any food, except I will say we demonize sugar, and that, I wasn't the only author of this book. I had a co-author. And so when when you work together as a team, sometimes your perfect desire is a little muted to suit someone else's perfect desire, and you meet somewhere in the middle. So we do, if I have to use the word demonize, sugar, like refined white cane sugar, brown sugar, whatever, we do kind of literally like point a finger at it. But everything else, not so much. And I'll get to that, like I said. So what was I saying? Oh, about the references. We're very neutral about a lot of things. We just don't say anything that like, well, where's the backup for that? Why do we need to back it up? We didn't say anything that's really controversial. So then let me move on to, what was the next point? Oh, how we don't demonize anything. I have said all along that not everybody needs a strict ketogenic diet, because it's true. I've had now, everybody can follow a strict ketogenic diet. Not everyone needs to. And it might not be best for everyone, depending on what your situation is and what you are trying to accomplish. Strict keto might not get you there the most efficiently or whatever. So I've had more than one client who I encourage to eat more carbohydrate, or to whatever, just more food overall, more protein, more this, more that. Not everyone does the best on keto. But of course, many, many people, let's not mince words. Keto is life-saving and life-changing for many people. So there are people with very, very severe health issues that their life can be radically changed for the better with strict keto. And it's a change that wouldn't necessarily happen if they were kind of fudging around with lowish carb or paleo that's like real good quality foods, but maybe they're still eating a lot of fruit and a lot of potatoes and stuff like that. So there's a time and place for strict keto, and we're very clear in the book. We actually have a checklist, and you go through the checklist, and depending on the number of boxes you check in different sections, it points you toward a carbohydrate level to start out with. And I'm not going to like pull your leg here. I'm not going to mince words. Most people will find themselves pointed toward keto, toward the very strict. And it's very strict for a while, and we have the food list laid out. There's a big FAQ, very clear as to what you can do and why. I think that's a selling point of our book. We don't just tell you what to do, we explain why and how. There's tips for how to make this doable, how to grocery shop, how to eat, how to customize your order at different restaurants. We make it all very practical. But depending on your situation, we have 3 levels of the diet. The first is obviously the very, very strict keto. The second phase 2, is still very much a low carb diet. The phase 2 is about 50 grams total carbs or fewer, which, in my personal opinion, anything below 100 grams total carbs a day is a low carb diet. Is 100 grams of carbs a day keto? No, not for most people, but is it low carb? Yeah, especially compared to what most people are eating. No, there's no formal definition for that. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think anything under 100, total grams carbs a day is low carb. So, but our level 2 is 50, which, if you're getting most of your carbohydrate from broccoli and cabbage and almonds and zucchini and spinach and walnuts and raspberries and maybe some blueberries, that is it gives you a lot of leeway. 50 grams of carbs is a lot of broccoli, it's a lot of walnuts. And then our level 3 is really for people that are already in very good health. They're happy with their weight, probably people that are very athletic. Those people, that level is 150 grams of carbs or fewer. So even that, for someone who's lean and healthy and active, even 150 grams of carbs, relatively speaking, is low. Is it keto? No. Is it low carb? Yeah. But again, 150 grams of carbs, that's a lot of cabbage. It's a lot of pecans. It's a lot of cauliflower, a lot of eggplant. And you'll see in the food list, each level has a different food list that, of course, level 2 includes everything from the level 1 list, plus certain additions that you make at the higher carb. And I think they're called phases, phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 3 builds upon the phase 1 and 2 list with the addition of other things that you can have that are starchier. So when I was saying earlier that we really don't demonize any particular food in the book, we don't. We make it very clear, because I've always said this. If you look around the world, there are billions of healthy, lean people that remain healthy and hale and cognitively intact well into old age, and they're not on ketogenic diets. They eat rice, they eat wheat, they eat corn, they eat, fruit and beans and whatever. So it's not these foods per se. These foods are not poisonous. You could argue over the details, and some of the carnivore, diet enthusiasts, well, the broccoli is poisonous, or the beans, the lectins. We're not going there right now. We're talking about the general public. Let's appeal to the broadest audience we can for now, and people can start in a place that's going to get them pretty far, and then they can tinker from there. But let's keep it basic. So how can I say that sweet potatoes are killing you when there's, millions, if not billions, of people around the world that are healthy and lean and fit cognitively and emotionally that eat sweet potatoes or beans or rice or fruit? So it's we don't really demonize any of that. We make it very clear that if you are in a health situation that is very much caused by or exacerbated by a very high carbohydrate intake, which is going to perturb your blood glucose all day and perturb your insulin all day, and not just perturb, but mostly keep it high most of the time, right? Then for right now, you're going to get the best mileage. You're going to get the biggest benefit the most quickly by keeping your carbs really, really low. So it's not that black beans are bad for you. It's not that cantaloupe is bad for you. It's that right now, you're kind of in a hole. And if we want to get you out of the hole as quickly and easily and efficiently as possible, it's best for you to be very, very strict. Once you're out of the hole, now what? Now, you're not in the hole anymore. Do you need to keep following the diet that you needed to get you out of the hole, or are you literally in a different place now, and maybe your diet can be different? That's one of the big points of End Your Carb Confusion. We have these 3 levels because there's so many people out there who do keto, they love it, it's great, it's super strict, but maybe they get to a point where, God, it would be really nice to eat a peach in the middle of summer. Like, I go to the farmer's market, the plums look amazing. I'd really like to have a plum. I'd really like to have a wedge of honeydew every now and then, or maybe, God forbid, I'd like to go to my favorite breakfast joint and have some of the hash browns with my eggs instead of saying no. Like, maybe I'd like to have half a serving of hash browns. That's very possible. We explain that in our book, End Your Carb Confusion. We sort of walk you through when and how to gradually reintroduce those carbs if you want to. We're very clear that you don't have to. if you are happy with keto and you don't miss any food and you're perfectly content, you can do super strict keto for as long as you want. But if you get to a point where you feel like you might enjoy a little more variety, and you might be able to tolerate and even maybe benefit from a little more variety, here's how to do that. Here's how to, systematically, gradually reintroduce certain forms of carbohydrate in a way that won't re-trigger weight, that, won't trigger weight regain. It won't, cause you to gain the weight that you lost, and it won't trigger a recurrence of health issues that you are now rid of. So that's a big selling point of it. And we also talk about, okay, let's say you did start to increase your carbs a little bit. Oh, now something's happening, or you increased, but instead of doing it systematically the way we lay out in the book, you just kind of fell off the map and dove headfirst into every carb in sight. Okay, how do I come back? How do I right that ship now? It's all in the book, all of it. How to navigate with family, how to navigate with naysayers and with people that are actively, consciously or subconsciously working against you, trying to sabotage you. We have, information on how to navigate that, how to navigate the relationships that change because your diet's changing. People freak out. People freak out when you change the status quo. If you are used to being the fat friend or the fat funny spouse, and all of a sudden you get hot, like I'm being facetious here, but it's because not that fat people can't be hot. I'm going to do a video on health at every size soon. I keep saying that. But no, it's weight has nothing to do with hotness, but you know what I'm saying. So when you upend the status quo, when you make a big change, people close to you, it changes that relationship dynamic, and it makes people really uncomfortable. So we have stuff about that. And that's it. We don't fear monger. We don't fear monger about the artificial sweeteners. We don't fear monger about the omega-6, because those are minor, teeny tiny details that may not even matter at all. Because I know in my own body, and Dr. Westman's seen it in thousands of patients, that most people, maybe not everybody, there's no blanket rule for everybody, but most people can eat all of that stuff and do just fine as long as they accomplish the single one most important thing about this, which is keeping the carbohydrate intake low. So if that means you're having the store-bought salad dressing that has soybean oil in it or canola oil, or it means every now and then you're having some walnuts which are high in omega-6, whoop-de-doo. If it means you're buying the canned tuna that's on sale for 99 cents a can, and you don't let someone scare you about the mercury. You don't have to spend $5 for a can of tuna if you can't afford it. What else? Talked about the phases. I talked about the food list. Yeah, we just, the other part, I guess, with the whole keeping it simple and appealing to the broadest audience, and making this easy to understand. I love the science. I'm pointing over there. I have a big stack of papers that I read every month on this stuff, the biology, the chemistry of it all. I love learning about that. I love learning about the pathways and the mechanisms and the acronyms and the abbreviations. Not everybody wants that. Some people just want a food list and a shopping. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to have for dinner. Tell me what to eat. Tell me what not to eat, and I'll go do it. Like, they don't want to know about mTOR. They don't want to know about autophagy. They don't want to know about insulin. And so this book is the perfect. So here, I should have started the video with this, but I'm not going to stop and re-record. This book is for the person who doesn't want the high level gobbledygook, like I said in the book description. They don't want the big scientific words. They want plain English. I want to know how to do this, and maybe I want to know why. Why do I have to keep my carbs so low? Who cares if my insulin is high all the time? Why does any of this matter? That's what the book is about. And it's plain English, and I hope I can claim that I know it's plain English because I wrote it. I wrote it to be plain English. Where there are complicated things, I try to break them down very simply, just like I try to do on my blog. And so this book really is, it's intended for a lot of different audiences. I could say it's a perfectly good read for everybody, which, hey, everybody's welcome to buy this book and a few hundred extra copies for everyone you've ever met. But I really see it for a couple of different audiences. One, people who are completely and totally overwhelmed. I say this all the time on my videos. I don't envy you right now if you are new to keto or low carb. When I was new over a decade ago, and I mean almost 20 years ago at this point, there was no Facebook, didn't exist. Twitter didn't exist. YouTube, Reddit, Instagram did not exist. There were only 2 or 3 books. There was one good online forum, like a message board. There wasn't any of this other stuff. So there wasn't a million mixed messages, confusing, contradictory things. This didn't exist. It was much easier to start when I was new. So our book, End Your Carb Confusion, really is for the person who has no idea what to think or where to start, because there's so much. End Your Carb Confusion is the simplest, quickest read, easiest guide to just get started. And like I said, maybe sometime down the line, you're going to tweak and you're going to get a little more interested. Oh, well, what does erythritol do? Maybe I should have something else. Or maybe I don't want to have the aspartame. Or maybe I should look into lowering my omega-6. That's not anything you need to even think about when you're brand new and just getting started. So the second kind of audience I think this book is really good for is people that have actually already been doing low carb or keto for a while, but they are also totally overwhelmed and scared and confused and frustrated. Because somebody might be doing perfectly well, but they don't know how well they're doing, because they're hearing so many different things. Like, okay, well, I eat this way and I do this and I feel great, I look great, I'm happy, but all these doctors say I shouldn't and I should do this, and this person with that blog says that this is wrong. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So if you want something that's going to work and something that's clear and straightforward, this book is for you too. And of course, it's really for people who've been doing keto or low carb for a while and they're not getting where they want to go. Whether that is losing fat, whether it's reversing type 2 diabetes or PCOS, getting rid of gout, clearing up hypertension, clearing up non-alcoholic fatty liver, getting off the blood sugar roller coaster if you have hypoglycemia, evening out your mood maybe, controlling your blood sugar if you have gestational diabetes, if you've had bariatric surgery and you've regained some or all of that weight, this is for you too. So this is for people that are doing keto or low carb and not getting where they want to go, because they may be doing one of these sort of newfangled, Johnny-come-lately new person on the block ketogenic diets, and it's not working. Maybe they could try the approach that the doctor who researched it for the past 20 years and has been using it in his clinic, maybe that might kick things into gear. And okay, as much as I respect Dr. Westman, I'm not saying his approach is the best approach for every single person out there. I'm just saying, again, if someone has already been doing keto or what they think is like internet armchair keto and they're not getting the results they want, maybe try something that is literally clinical research proven. Clinical research has shown that this way of eating works. So, get back to basics and tinker after that. Hunker down, get strict for a while, see how well you do, and then reevaluate. So, I think that's about it on audiences. Yeah, I'm coming up on a half hour here, so I'm going to end soon, but I'm proud of this book. This is the book that I would want someone to give me if I was new to keto and I had no idea where to start. If I couldn't make sense of the 800 other books on the shelf, or the 5,000 YouTube channels and the 70,000 Instagram feeds that are showing keto food, if I didn't know what to do, I would want End Your Carb Confusion. That's even my blog. And these videos, I've always sort of, in the back of my mind, my driving principle in delivering information the way I do is I try to explain things the way I would want someone to explain them to me if I were new. How can I explain this crazy high level metabolic pathway in plain English so somebody understands? And how can I explain that in a way that helps them make a suitable decision at the supermarket or the dinner table? Like, okay, there's insulin, there's gluconeogenesis, there's glucagon, there's the pancreas. Okay, what do I eat? What does that mean for me? What does that mean if I'm snacking all day? Or what does it mean if I exercise or I don't exercise or this or that? Um, I've always tried to write and deliver these videos to the person who doesn't know, to the person who's new. And I hope I do it in a way that isn't boring to the people who do know. Like I was saying, the people that are already doing keto, End Your Carb Confusion is a great refresher of the basics. Because the abbreviation mTOR does not appear in End Your Carb Confusion even once. I don't think the word autophagy appears even once. I could be wrong. I don't think it appears at all. Gluconeogenesis might appear, but I doubt it. It's a really straightforward, simple book. And some people were probably going to take criticism on that from some people, like this is so basic. I wanted to learn something. So if you've been following me or Dr. Westman or Ben Bickman or Jason Fung or Ted Naiman or Tro Kalayjian or any of these people, if you've been following any of us for a long time, I'm going to burst your bubble here. End Your Carb Confusion is probably not going to teach you anything new. You're not going to learn anything you don't already know. So if that's a reason for you not to buy the book, don't buy it. I hope you do buy it. I hope you see it as a way to maybe support me. I'm on Patreon. There'll be a link in the notes. Like I do have ways to support me, but if you find my videos helpful or my blog or anything, my Twitter feed, if you find it helpful, buying the book and especially pre-ordering is one way to sort of give back in that regard. But, I think even if you're in a position of keto and low carb knowledge that you're not going to learn anything new, it still might be worth reading, again, to like drown out the noise and hone in on the signal. Okay, what really matters here? Because you might be interacting with people who are new, with people, relatives or coworkers who are like, oh, Joe, you lost so much weight. What are you doing? Oh, I'm doing keto. Check out I'm doing keto, but you can't have too much protein, and you can't do this, and you have to watch omega-6, and you can't buy that kind of salad dressing. We have to learn how to talk to people that are new. We have to learn not to scare them away. So maybe this is a good book for that. Or, I also think it's a great book to buy for someone in your life who has maybe expressed interest in what you're doing, but they're never going to do a strict ketogenic diet. They're never going to do it. For that person, especially if they are living with morbid obesity or, regular garden variety obesity, or they have type 2 diabetes or hypertension or any of these things, for some of those people, they don't have to go strict keto, right? We all know plenty of people who just reduce carbs. They just cut carbs to some extent, and they can get a lot better. Maybe they would get even more better if they would go full keto, but they're never going to do it. So going halfway for those people might get them to a place they're perfectly content with. Maybe they could lose 40 pounds, but they'd be happy if they lost 20. And this will get them there. Or they, maybe a type 2 diabetic, they'll be able to get off their insulin, but they'll still need the metformin, or something like that. So this is a way to at least help those people understand what carbohydrates do in the body when you are very sensitive to them, and why controlling insulin and blood sugar is so important. And there's many different ways to do that. We even say that in the book. Keto's not the only way to do that. Dr. Westman and I happen to agree that we think it's the most effective way to do it. And in fact, the American Diabetes Association, in their consensus paper from 2019, they said carbohydrate restriction has the most evidence for improving what they call glycemia, meaning improving blood sugar. So it's a good book to introduce the people that you don't want to scare away, the people that don't never want to or care to hear the word autophagy and mTOR, gluconeogenesis, this is the book for them. You know, I'm going to stop talking now, 35 minutes. End your carb confusion. Please do pre-order. I think I may have mentioned that at the beginning of the video. The release date is December 15th, but the more people that pre-order, all of the advanced sales, the pre-release sales, count for the first week. And I'm told by the publisher that the first week's sales really are very critical to potentially making a bestseller list. And it would truly be a dream come true for me to be able to say I'm a best-selling author. I mean, I'm an author now. I'm an author, but if I was a best-selling author, I mean, I've mentioned in previous videos that my undergraduate degree is in creative writing, and my master's degree is in nutrition, but I consider myself a writer first and a nutritionist second. So if I was able to say that I'm a best-selling author, and if my father, my dad's a crier, if my father could say that his daughter was a best-selling author, let's try to make that happen, shall we? And I'm going to end this video before I start tearing up myself, but there will be a link below. Check it out. I hope you're interested in it, and that's all. Thank you for watching. If you like my videos, just subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.